Welcome back to Hungarians in the Kitchen. And if you have been following us, you probably have noticed that we haven't filmed in a while. We have been busy, moving and settling into a new home in a new state of beautiful Maine. But we still have Hungarians in the kitchen.
Yes, we do.
And we'll have some great taste testers as well. Today we are making, and I'm going to pronounce it in Hungarian, it is Toros Kaposzta.
Yes.
Kaposzta means cabbage. I don't know what Toros means.
Toros means when you process the pig, and it's like after everything is processed, it's like a feast.
Okay, like a celebration.
It's like a celebration.
Okay.
It's like a feast. So
yes.
that means Toros.
So this is made with pork, and I've made this using the wrong cut, and you have scolded me for that.
Yeah.
Because, pork is kind of one of those things that can dry out, as I've discovered.
Yeah.
So we have the boneless pork ribs, and it looks like this in the market when you get it. And you can see the fat is on it. You do not want to remove the fat. What we first want to do, of course, is saute the onion.
We cut the onion.
Okay. Your onions need to be pretty small, like not big, like it's a chunk size.
Yeah, it's a mid-size onion.
Yeah. But you don't use garlic, right?
No, not for this dish. I don't use garlic. I want to tell that this dish made in many different ways, actually. And when we make it, I explain how other people makes it. But I do it the way how my mother did it.
So when you say that this was something that your mom would make,
yes,
how often?
And not just when we had processing the pork. I mean,
sure.
This is an all year round recipe.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and turn the stove on with some olive oil, and I'm just going to measure this. I think we're going to put in, let's start with 2 tablespoons. And I am using a kind of a cast iron like crescent pan, but I mean you could use whatever you would like because it's kind of a heavier meal.
Yes.
So it's not really kind of a summer meal with salad.
Yeah,
it's usually pretty hearty.
Yeah.
And I mean you would generally, here we'll bring this over. You would generally be slaughtering the pig in the fall, late fall.
Yeah.
That, I think I'm going to go ahead and start cutting the pork. And one thing I do recall about cutting the pork is that you don't really want big pieces.
You can put it here.
Right, so about this.
Yeah.
So we are looking at maybe half inch by half inch, would you say?
Doesn't matter. You can make
I mean, you don't want a piece this big.
No, you don't want a piece like that, yeah. You can cut it larger a little bit.
So why is it important that we use only this particular cut of pork?
Well, because this has a kind of fat in it, and you don't want to use like pork loin, that just without any fat, nothing, that just dries out, and I don't know, somehow I don't like it. It's too dry. So this has a good fat, and it has a good taste.
Okay.
So that's important, to have a good taste.
And you can't use ground pork, of course.
No, of course not. It's not for the ground pork, no.
So what would be like, could you use like shoulder or the butt?
Yeah,
pork butt.
Shoulder or butt. Yeah.
As long as you're having your fat. So it's not a real lean piece, which is nice because that usually tends to be a little bit more expensive anyway. How common of a recipe is this? Like, is this like you make it once a week, or?
No, not once a week. Maybe you don't want to eat every week.
Sure.
Toros Kaposzta.
I think the other thing, because you're using the cabbage, that's also another thing that's really pretty common in...
That one maybe you cut a little bit. Oh no, it has a...
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
In Eastern European cooking. So would you say this was a meal that would be shared by other Eastern European countries?
Oh, I am sure that in Eastern Europe, everybody using, especially that time of the year when they slaughter the pork. And that's such a good taste when the fresh pork, from morning to evening, you already eat the pork.
Wow.
So
I've never experienced that.
Yeah, so that's why they call it Toros Kaposzta, because you make a big feast from the very first time you...
So it's really fresh. It has not been frozen. So one of the questions that I have is, what are some different ways that it is prepared?
Yeah, so the different ways that, the way how I make it, I put the meat, I put red paprika and put water and seasoning. Some people, and in a separate pot, I put the sauerkraut and saute the sauerkraut.
Separately?
Some people, they don't do that. They just put into the meat the sauerkraut.
I think I did that once by accident.
I don't know. Maybe it's nothing wrong with it, and I'm sure nothing wrong with it, but it's just that something that I got so used to it, seeing my mother doing this way, so I'm always doing it this way. So now I'm putting the paprika.
And you're going to measure it.
2 tablespoons.
2 tablespoons?
Yeah. The meat.
Even though we're not done yet, you can put it in?
No, not. We can put the meat in the meantime.
I gotta quicken my speed here.
Because I don't want it to be burned.
If you are not used to cutting pork, you really want to use a boning knife, like what I have here. Definitely don't want to use a serrated knife for cutting like this. It's going to be, just make a mess. And it's going to take forever. Now the paprika that you used, I know the last time I went to a store to look for paprika, they now have Spanish paprika, smoked paprika.
Well, we use the Hungarian paprika, which we buying from Bendy store, which is in Chicago.
Yeah, but most people aren't going to be able to do that. So I think you can get Hungarian paprika at your grocery store.
Well, it has a special flavor, the Hungarian paprika, and we got used to that flavor, so we want to continue having that flavor in our mouth.
Yeah. So the first time I learned how to make this, one of the things that I recall is that it just felt like it took forever for the pork to cook.
Because it was a different type of pork.
Okay, so if you're using this, so that was about a cup of water you added?
This is the second.
Okay, so about 2 cups of water. So
I need salt. Then maybe a little one.
So we're looking at about maybe a heaping teaspoon for now.
To make it a little bit higher.
So we'll go ahead and just wait for this to cook. What was it? A half hour or so?
Yes.
Okay. And we'll let you know what it'll I guess feel like is what we're looking for when we come back. So while our pork is cooking, we're going to go ahead and get our cabbage ready. I wanted to just add a couple of things. My mom put in a dash of black pepper just to taste, and another whole tablespoon of paprika, because we're using almost 2 pounds and you really want that nice dark color.
Yeah, that's what I put there.
And that's just the kind of thing where, you know, if you've been cooking like this, you know what color it needs to look like.
Now in a pot we put again 2 tablespoons of oil.
And this is for the cabbage. And we're going to turn it on to medium.
Yes.
And I saw that you're draining
I'm just draining
the sauerkraut.
I don't want to wash it out because it has a nice flavor. So
and when you mean wash it out, you would mean actually
just put
rinsing
water
it.
on it and,
Right.
I don't want to do
So
that.
we don't want to rinse it. You just want to make sure that you just take out
Just
some of
take
the
out,
excess liquid. And we don't add onions to this. Some people
No.
think that you might need to. Again, this is 4 pounds in total of kraut. And make sure that it's not fermented kraut. So you're squeezing it to get some of the excess liquid out.
Yes. Okay, that's a good amount.
And we've got some bay leaves.
Like 3.
Okay. 3 large bay leaves.
Okay. And then we just make sure that it's enough oil
To cover all of it.
to cover. And we can put it a little bit higher now. Because it has to be like a yellowish color to make it. Now
So
this
almost
is like wow.
slightly browned, right?
Yeah, a little bit, like a dark yellow.
Sure.
Yes. Maybe I put a little bit more oil.
Okay, so would you say about another tablespoon?
Now let's try. Yeah. It has to be nice and oily in order to saute.
Sure.
Because if it's just sitting there dry, you know, it's not going to be that color.
Now, I want to just talk a little bit about
And to make it a little bit higher.
the pot that we chose. Has a larger circumference. I was thinking about doing something a little bit taller, but you really want that really nice circumference base at the bottom for it to
We can
cook,
leave
I
it
think,
out
faster.
So it evaporates a little bit,
Okay.
the liquid.
So this has been cooking now for close to 20 minutes, the pork. And you're saying maybe, which maybe is about halfway mark, you might want to take off the lid so that some of the liquid will evaporate.
Yes.
You don't want all the liquid to evaporate.
No, not all the liquid, because when you put in the sauerkraut, it has to have some liquid. So,
Sure.
but I put it more for the cooking, but then that's where I open
Right.
it so it can evaporate a little bit.
One of the things I recall making this is that you can't, this isn't one of those leave it and forget it.
No, definitely not. It's not the kind of dish that you just leave it there and forget about it.
Because you have to keep stirring the cabbage.
Yes.
So if someone was making this for dinner, you know, this evening, how long do you say that this meal takes?
Well, it takes about an hour or so.
Okay.
Because the meat has to make sure that it's nice and soft.
Right.
When you eat it, it just, you know, if you have a family, 2, 3 children, then it's a nice weekend. Because also, if you make enough, so maybe you can eat it the next day, and when you warm it up, it's still good. It's still just like the stuffed cabbage. The next day, maybe even better than the first night. So,
I'm thinking the amount that we have here probably is not enough to feed a family of 4 twice.
Oh yeah, this is enough.
2 times?
Well, if you stretch it a little
Okay, so we, I mean, and the way you could stretch it is you could be adding more cabbage.
Yes.
So you'd have more cabbage, you would have less meat. That is one way of...
I just want to have a little taste if it's how far the meat is gone.
And so we're getting close to about a half hour at this point.
Need more salt.
Now, if you feel like this is getting too dry, would you add more oil at this point, or could you add some of the liquid from here?
You can do that. You can put some liquid in there, yes.
Okay.
But it's not dry, it's nice and soft.
And would you cover this?
No, I'm not necessarily. It has to be covered. Because you always have to stir it, so you don't want to put back and forth at all.
Well, I'm just seeing a lot of the steam rising out, and I wasn't sure.
We're going to have a nice smell over here.
We are having very nice smells in the house. It is true. I wish that I could convey that over the video, but you just have to trust us.
Maybe we can put in...
Oh, we're going to combine.
Yes, now I think we can...
So what do we combine in what?
We put the cabbage into the...
Really? Okay.
Yes.
So about how far along would you say the pork is?
Well, it's halfway, but they have to cook together also.
So I just wanted to go ahead and, before we combine, just take a look and see kind of the color and the consistency.
Sometimes I make it darker, but right now...
And I think what I'd like to do is maybe just bring over to the camera a little bit our pork. So it's really beautiful color.
It smells so good.
So good. All right, we can turn this off. And you would only do this probably when the pork is what, halfway cooked?
Yeah.
You don't want to do it too early on, although, as my mother said, it is something that I've cooked it that way before, and I think it was okay, but traditionally you want to make sure that you're cooking them separately. I think the nice thing about doing it this way is...
But you have to make it.
My mother really likes to turn up the heat. I don't.
It has to, because it has to cook now.
I know, but 8.0 is so high.
That would make it 7.
I never turn mine up that high.
Well, you have to cook. Not just sauteing something. You have to make sure that everything gonna be...
The other day I came in here and you had something at 9.5. It's like, oh my gosh.
That was the beginning. 9.5, like the stuffed cabbage I made. You put on.
Right.
You make it high. Let it start to boil.
Right.
And then you lower it.
Yep.
And that's nice.
She doesn't want to wait. That's... I'm just like, you know what? It's going to get up to boil at some point. We'll just wait.
Yeah, but at 3, when it's going to be boiling, an hour later.
Yeah.
You don't want to show 1 hour.
Yeah, no one's going to want to make it. It takes an hour to
nobody
boil.
wants to make it, because they said how long it takes this Toros Kaposzta to make.
Okay.
3 hours.
Yeah, no, we don't want that.
You don't want that.
So, if you're cooking like my mother cooks, an hour. We're looking at an hour.
But now I put the lid. Now it's gonna just cook nicely together, and the sauerkraut gonna take the meat flavor. So It's gonna be so good.
Okay, so maybe another 20 minutes.
Yes.
All right, so we're back, and it's been about maybe 15 or 20 minutes, and we've been checking the meat, and we believe it is soft enough.
Yes.
So we're going to go ahead and bring it over and show you what the end result looks like. Look at that golden, beautiful color, and it's just really nicely mixed in, and if I could only convey the smell of this, you would really love it. And we're back. I've got my taste testers here. You girls ready? Mm-hmm. All right, so if you look at your bowls, you have...
You can pick up the bowl.
You can pick up the bowl, and it's still warm, so you probably want to go ahead and blow on it a little bit.
It's fine.
Okay.
It's really good.
Does it need anything? Salt?
It need anything?
Pepper?
Salt, pepper?
No.
Nothing?
No. Is this some,
So we did a good job.
Is this something you feel like you could have with dinner? Now, we're not big bread eaters, but in terms of what somebody can eat it with,
Yeah.
you are hungry.
I usually have a slice of bread or something, yes.
Okay, so you can eat it with bread and or crackers maybe, but I think it's a winner. We've got a 10-year-old and a 16-year-old eating it like I haven't fed them in days. All right, thanks for watching, and we hope you have a great time making it.
Jó étvágyat.
That's right. That means
That means in Hungarian, good appetite.